Yes, good afternoon. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV, joined by LB from It's LB and Judge Mo, who was fashionably late for a second week running, but he is here. Big up to both of you. How are we doing, lads? You well?
I'm doing fine. Thank you
All
so
good,
much for
man.
having us. Everything is
Yeah.
good. I look at LB smiling. Kevin De Bruyne is back, and he's like, "Oh my God, the league is over."
listen, Mo, we've been saying this. Me and LB have been on the same page about this for months. Soon you'll come there with us. Don't you worry about it. Look, guys and girls, this is Football Fever. A chance for us to just catch up on what's happened over the weekend. Any signings, transfers, rumours, and upcoming games. A really weird one, guys, with the Premier League being split. 5 games last weekend, the weekend gone. 5 games this weekend. God knows what that is all about, but we've got it. We're going to be talking Chelsea, Fulham. Chelsea on out 3 Premier League wins in a row, 4 from their last 5. They're moving slowly up the table, but fans are still not happy. Manchester City are flying. They're the most informed team in Europe right now, in terms of data, in terms of goals, in terms of wins, form, you name it. Newcastle are struggling big time. Tottenham 2-2 at Man United, and Man United fans are not happy. Aston Villa fans have now suddenly started jumping on the, oh my God, what's happened? We've tailed off, even though they're sitting 3rd in the Premier League table. And it's all happening. Mo, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with Chelsea, Fulham. We talked last week about Pochettino and what he needs to do. Should he be sacked and all that kind of stuff. They've just won their 3rd game in a row. That's 4 and 5 Premier League games. So they've taken 12 from 15. They're now right back up there. They're like 1 point off of European football. Are things starting to go a little bit better for Chelsea? If so, why? Or is this just another false dawn for the club?
So for Chelsea, I still think that Pochettino is doing. I'm going to keep the same thing. Pochettino is making the right plan. Pochettino is having the right tactics. He's adjusting his tactics a little bit, letting the opposition have a little bit of the ball to try to hit them on the counter as well, while also sometimes being in control. My problem with Pochettino staying that he's still experimenting in terms of starting 11. So Pochettino basically makes the right plan, but puts the wrong player in the wrong position. That's it. Like you see Conor Gallagher receiving the ball between the lines and trying to turn and pass, but that's not Conor Gallagher's job. In my opinion, you see Levi Colwill going up the pitch trying to cross. That's not his job. I believe he's getting the lineups wrong. I believe Raheem Sterling, for example, should not be starting for Chelsea. He's been awful, more than not, actually. But when I said that they should sack Pochettino, I said they should sack Pochettino because they weren't getting results. But they are getting results at the end. I believe the performances are improving. But again, the players aren't playing up to the levels. Majority of them aren't playing up to the level that we're expecting. Even from a Caicedo, Enzo was good last time, but that's one game. When you sign a player that expensive, you need more from them. Still playing Thiago Silva, 39 years old, soon to turn 40 at somehow for Chelsea Football Club, 2024. So Pochettino, it's getting towards positive results. 3 games on the bounce for the first time in a year. But again, I still like to see a left back at the left back position, a number 10 and a number 10 position. I still like to see a better winger. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it does appear that players are being played out of position, LB, but they're second in the form table, just behind your lot. So you've taken 13 from your last 15 points. They've taken 12. And they've only conceded 5 goals in that time. The only team to concede less is Liverpool. So something's working. I know you've been quite critical of Chelsea and Poch, but something's starting to figure itself out, isn't it?
I think it's too early to say, bro. You know, you mentioned the form, but you got to look at the teams they play. You know, they've done well to get results. At the end of the day, it's a results-based business. So you can't really criticise them. But I think it's way too early to say that, you know, the tide is turning or they turned a corner or whatever. Because at the end of the day, who they play, they beat Sheffield United, Palace, Luton Town, and Fulham. Still got beat off Wolves, which is turning out to be a very difficult place to play football. By the way, you know what I mean? They've got some good results there. So listen, I've been quite clear on this. For me, I'll judge them when after the Aston Villa game in the cup, after the Liverpool game. They've got Wolves coming up again. They've got City in February, Tottenham in February as well. These are the games that we should be judging Chelsea on. With due respect, this club spent £1 billion. They should be beating Luton. They should be beating Fulham. They should be beating Sheffield United. Right. So I guess for Chelsea fans, it's a little bit of respite. Yeah, they've finally got some wins. GG's to them. But to say that they're turning a corner or things are looking up, I think you have to give it a little bit more time. They've got some trickier fixtures coming up. They've still got to overturn this 1-0 defeat against Middlesbrough, by the way.
Yeah.
If we do that, then maybe we can start to talk. But right now, I'm looking at this and going, I'm still yet to see anything that tells me that they are a serious football club yet.
I mean, but when you look at it, guys, I mean, look, I'm trying to give the Chelsea fans some hope here. The table will say that they're 9th, but they've now gone above Newcastle, who have been having a bit of a bad time, and they're now 3 points off the Europa League. They're 3 points off the Europa League, which, yes, I know they would have wanted Champions League, but from this stage now, would Europa League be decent? I know it probably wouldn't have at the beginning of the season, but from where they are now, just getting back into the Europa League, would that be good for them, Mo?
It's still not acceptable. Sorry, it's still not acceptable that they spent all this money, and just the question has to be, the answer to the question has to be no.
Right.
The
so
answer
have to get Champions League.
Well, yes, they do have to get Champions League. They do have to get.
How are you saying that? I don't get it.
They spent £1 billion, Mo.
Yeah, okay. So there are two ways. I agree with you if you say that. If you say in the beginning of the season, if any other team, any team, even if you get me Nottingham Forest, and you tell me you spend £1 billion, yes, the expectation should be Premier League. But Savva's question is from this stage onwards. They're already disappointed.
Yes,
they're already behind.
Mm-hmm.
You sitting 10th halfway through the season, you already failed to achieve your expectations. Already done. But from this point onward, and sitting after 19 games, imagine that, sitting 10th in the league. Don't you think if they get 6th or 5th is a massive achievement?
No.
But how?
No, because you can't. No, that's not how football works, Mo. You can't just go.
Actually, football works.
No, because you can't just go, oh, the first half of the season didn't happen. Without 10th, if we finish 6th, then everything's fine and it's a good achievement. That's still a disaster for Chelsea Football Club. It's still a shambolic performance. Just because they go from 10th or 9th to 5th or 6th in the next 19 games doesn't mean that that's an achievement. That is a failure. And
would it show they're going in the right direction, though, LB? I know they've had it tough. I know it's been bad, but
it would show the second half of the season is better than the first half of the season, and it looks like they're on the upwards trajectory. But to call it anything other than a disaster would still be ridiculous. This club should be in the top 4. They spent £1 billion. They should be in the top 4.
Let me ask you them, guys. So if we look at this table at the moment, sorry, stay humble. If we look at this table at the moment, listen, I'm going to hazard a guess and say that Liverpool and Man City are definitely going to get Champions League football. By hazard a guess, I think I could pretty much put my mortgage on that. Then you've got Villa, Arsenal and Tottenham all tucked in closely together, separated by 3 points. Obviously, Arsenal got a game in hand, but they still would only be 3 points above Spurs in 5th. And then West Ham 6 points further back. From this table, obviously LB saying Chelsea should be. Who are the other should-bes in the Champions League? Who is it a bad year for versus a disappointing year for if they don't get top 4? Because not everyone's going to get it, right?
Okay. Yeah, so I would say Manchester United, that's a disaster. Newcastle United, it's not a disaster for Newcastle United, but it's still disappointing. They finished 4th last year, right? So to say, if they go, you've got to say they've got to go top 4 again. Otherwise, you're accepting regression. You're accepting getting worse. You've got to accept the target for Newcastle United had to be to get back into that Champions League. That was the target. Anyone telling you anything else, you're just happy clapping. So I'm looking at Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle, and then the top 5. They all should now be aiming for Champions League football.
But who's it worse for not to get? Because look, if we're talking, even if we look at the top 5 there, guys, right? 4 doesn't go into 5, right? I don't know. I went to school and I think that's how maths works. 4 doesn't go into 5 doesn't go into 4, rather. Jesus, did I do maths? 5 doesn't go into 4. one of those top 5 is definitely going to miss out.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has to. I think we can safely say, unless Chelsea have a blistering end to the season, unless Newcastle go on a 10-game winning run, that sort of thing, it's going to be from that top 5. Who is it worse for to miss out? Is it Spurs, Arsenal, or Villa? Who's it worse?
Is it not worse for? Is it not the same for everyone though, Savva? Because at the end of the day, we're all competing for the same thing here. Now, the only thing that I would say is what's more disappointing. It's for me when you ask the question, who's it worse for? I think it's worse for everyone. The target is the same.
No, I understand that, but look, you know, if we're going to put context
typical
to this,
City fan talk.
If we're going to put context on this, right? Everyone, Liverpool and City have to get it. Their squads they have to get it.
Not everyone can win the league, LB. Not everyone can win the league.
LB,
not everyone is Man City. Not everyone is Man City, LB.
I didn't say that.
You're saying it's the same for everyone. It's not. It's different.
So what's the difference between Tottenham finishing 5th and Aston Villa finishing 5th? What's the difference there?
It's called about objectives and the progress of the club. Like if Aston Villa get Europa, get 5th this year, it's a progress for them, isn't it? You can say, yes, we were in the top 4 the majority of the time. We missed out. Maybe we need this next year. Maybe we need to improve on this aspect this year so we can stay in the top 4. And for example, Angepostecoglou is trying so hard. He's having a lot of injuries. He's trying so hard to get in top 4. If they miss out in the last game or the last 2 games, they're saying, maybe we need to enhance our squad more. Maybe we need to do this. But if Arsenal miss on top 4, can you imagine that? Miss on top 4 after 4 years with the manager, when they were going for the league, when they were supposed to win the league, I think that's way more disastrous than if Aston Villa miss on the Champions League spot. Yes, on paper, they look the same, LB, because both of them miss on it. But definitely, it will be way more disastrous in the progress of a football club for Arsenal than Spurs or Aston Villa.
Yeah, but it depends who you ask. Some Arsenal fans are still saying that they're in a top 4 race. Some Arsenal fans are saying they're still not ready because some Arsenal fans are saying last year they shouldn't have been in a title race, so they're still only going for top 4 this year. So it depends who you ask.
I'm asking you.
Doesn't it come down to
fans, bro?
Doesn't it come down to the objection? The objections. No, that's he held up the gavel and I started talking like a. Doesn't it depend on what the objectives were at the beginning of the season? So I'll give you an example. I was just having this chat with another YouTuber actually off air, and he said for example, if we're talking about just winning, right? Man City and Sheffield United. Right? If Sheffield United finished second, just hear me out. If Sheffield United finished second and Man City finished 4th, but Man City won a Carabao Cup, who's had the better season?
No, they both didn't win the league, so both are disappointed.
Who genuinely, who's had the better season in that scenario with how both clubs are at the beginning of the year?
Take the LLB. Take the L so we can move on.
All right. It's Sheffield United.
Take the L so we can move on. Take the L so we can. You're not.
Take the L so we I agree. If Arsenal finish outside the top 4, that is hugely embarrassing and hugely disappointing.
Right.
Season.
But is it hugely embarrassing if Spurs or Villa finish outside the top 4, or is it just that they were close? No one expected it. Anyway,
it wouldn't be embarrassing. It wouldn't be embarrassing if they didn't finish outside the top 4. But this is why I come back to the words that we use. For Arsenal to finish outside the top 4, that would be hugely embarrassing for their football club because they've gone from a title that they should have won to not getting in the top 4. But in terms of if you talk about who's it worse for, well, every team needs to be finishing inside that top 4. They all need the money. Some Aston Villa fans just said about. FFP, I think it was, and Aston Villa fans said they need to finish inside the top 4 because apparently they're potentially on the edge of FFP, so they need to. So it depends on context you want to ask. In terms of disappointment and embarrassment, of course, if Aston Villa, if Arsenal didn't finish inside the top 4, that would be way more embarrassing than any other club that's currently there. Of course, it would.
Right. So the answer to that is Arsenal have to make that top 4. I think. Do you both agree? City and Liverpool have got it right. You both agree. There's no way those two finish outside the top 4.
Yeah,
I think there's no way.
Right, okay, but the other 3, could you say any 2 of those are definite? Would you say right? Okay, no, LB.
I think that I would still be mad shocked if Arsenal didn't finish inside the top 4. Man.
Okay, Okay.
Yeah, I'll be. I don't see Arsenal finishing outside the top 4. I can't see that.
Okay. And do you see anybody other than that top 5, anybody right now that you would say you would like to put an outside bet that they could still sneak into that top 4? Or is that gap? I mean, other than West Ham on 34, that gap already of 8 points, that's 3 wins, LB, right? So basically for Man United and Brighton to finish above Spurs already in the last 17 games of the season, if Spurs were to win 12 of their next 17 games, just out of, by example, Brighton or Man U would have to win 15 out of 17. It's not going to happen, is it? Unless we collapse.
It's unlikely. The best team there is Newcastle. But they're, on paper, they've got the best 11 by a country mile.
Who do you think? Newcastle?
Yeah. You think United's got a better 11 than...
I'm actually with LB here.
Yeah, hang on. Well, hang on. I didn't say it wasn't. I was just asking.
No, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying.
Mo, stop being disingenuous, Mo. Someone's telling you off in the chat for it.
Yeah, I think Newcastle.
No, I agree. Isak, second best striker in the league.
Right.
Anthony Gordon is performing very well. I actually think Sven Botman and Fabian Schär has been proven to have one of the best partnership in the league. Last year is proven. Dan Burn the same. But the problem is Nick Pope is injured, and we've seen the drop from Nick Pope to Dubravka. It's ridiculous, to be honest. Kieran Trippier is having his patch. But on paper, this is what LB has said, I agree with him. On paper, Kieran Trippier is one of the best right backs in the league. Even Almiron is performing, still, by the way, is not performing bad. Bruno Guimaraes, people like him, Joao Linton. And listen, they have a good starting 11. And I actually think, without the injury, I'm just going to add this last point. Newcastle are the only team in the league who have 2 teams to put out without the injury. By the way, they have 2 players in every single position. And the 2 players aren't like completely trash. Like we seen Jamal Lascelles, he didn't play bad when when Botman was injured. Livramento is not bad. Lewis Hall was a good youngster. Like we have seen Longstaff play well. Tonali. I think they have a good squad. The problem is injuries, and Eddie Howe somehow is not getting. They are 19th in the away table. 19th.
Right, but this this is my point then. So from where they are right now, right? From where they are right now, does anyone truly believe they can still do it? They're 11 points off fourth. 11 points. That's a 4-game swing.
Yeah, and here's the thing for me as well, Savva. It's not the 4th that they're chasing down. It's Aston Villa, which makes it even worse because they're an extra 3 points above them. You see what I'm saying? So it's actually 14 points. In my head, if Newcastle were to get inside the top 4, it's not for Arsenal, it's for Aston Villa, in my opinion. So that makes it even more difficult. Listen, they've got the team to do it. They'd have to go on a mad run, and they need to start like now. I just feel that they're just a little bit too far behind. 14 points is a lot. That's a lot to work with. If it was 8, 9, maybe even 10, I might start backing it. But 14 points, that's a lot. And listen, I think Aston Villa might have the odd wobble here or there, but they'd have to like lose 3 or 4 games in a row to get them even close. And I just don't quite see that happening. So, to answer the original question, Savva, no, I don't think anyone outside that top 5 gets inside the top 4. Right. But if there is one team that I could see doing it, it would be Newcastle. But they have to put a run together now. And they have to win maybe like 10 games on the bounce, even to just get us in the conversation.
Yeah. I think that's the problem.
Can I add something to this?
Yeah, go for it.
A simple thing. The problem always with me, when I say I'm predicting someone to do something, I look at the recent history and I try to predict the future, right? I look at the recent history, which is Newcastle's form lately, the way they are playing football. I see no signs of Newcastle turning this around. Specifically, the game against Manchester City.
You see no signs? Did you say no
signs?
Oh, no signs. Okay.
Looking at the Nottingham Forest game, I'm looking at the Man City game specifically. I say you played against the polar extremes of the table. And in both games, you played completely different brand of football and you lost both ones. Unless something dramatic happens now, you aren't turning around. I see no signs. You played against a team that wanted to play counter-attack and you failed. And you played the team that wanted to play on the front foot position-based football, and you still sat deep, didn't want to play in the second half when you were 2-1 up, lost the game at the end in the 91st minute. This is why I see no signs of them. Like, if someone tells me Chelsea will have signs of turning around, I'm saying, yes, I'm looking at the recent history and I'm looking at the numbers they have, and they might turn it around. Newcastle, I don't see it. I see no signs. If Newcastle turn it around, I'll be very surprised.
Can I add to that point just quickly?
Yeah.
I think Mo spoke facts there when he spoke about the different playing styles. I think, and this is just a theory, and I know there's a couple of Newcastle fans in the chat, and I'm not attacking your club. I want to know if you agree. Do you think Newcastle are maybe going through a little bit of an identity crisis? What I mean by that is last year they were doing very well, but they knew their role in the league, right? And we know that because when they went to the Emirates Stadium and they were in the top 3 or whatever, and they were very close, and everyone was like, oh, they're in a title race. Eddie Howe clearly demonstrated to the football world that he didn't feel that there was in a title race, and he shithoused a 0-0, right? They could have actually won the game if Joe Linton scored the header, but the way that they set up and played told everyone that they weren't in a title race. And in fact, I think Eddie Howe come out after the game and said, we're not in a title race. And they played in a way which they absorbed a lot of pressure. They were difficult to play against, and then they got the goals. This year's been different, though, because this year there's been more expectation on Newcastle to go and win football matches from the off, be the better team, take the games to the opposition team. Why? Why? Because that's what people expect. You finished in the top 4 last year. You expected to do that again. You got to go and win football matches. Compound that with the fact that they've had, let's be honest, a pretty horrific injury situation, which I think we can all accept, and having to change styles. The way that they set up against City, they don't set up like that against us last year.
Ever at home, ever.
No, last year they do a low block, they try and stop us, and they hit us on the break or whatever. They tried to play the way that their midfield 3 sort of just like played quite high up. That was you see that when we play like the Bayern Munichs and the Real Madrids. I feel like Newcastle at the moment are in this difficult position of not fully knowing how to tackle games, because are we still the Newcastle that, if we finish 5th or 6th, that's fine? Are we the Newcastle that's got to try and take it to teams? Because a draw like, for example, when they drew against Wolves, I was speaking to my mate Pete, Newcastle fan. He said that's a good point. I said that's not a good point. If you're trying to get inside the top 4, that's not a good point. And they're in this weird position, Savva.
Do you guys think the last thing on Newcastle? By the way, we're talking about points and tallies and numbers. There's nearly 300 of you in here and growing by the second. Only 79 likes, which is really, really stinky. That is really bad. Really embarrassing. More embarrassing than if Arsenal don't make the top 4. So please do smash that like button. Please go and subscribe to Mo. Go and subscribe to LB. Their links are pinned as well. So please do go and do that. And subscribe to me as well. I'm only 180 away from 13,000 now. So
come on, guys.
Do go and smash that button. Look, do you think, and I'm not saying this in a horrible way, this is not anything against Arsenal, but do you think a little bit of Newcastle was similar to Arsenal, but in a different way? And what I mean to it is, last season, both of them had years that I don't think either set of fans or any other set of fans expected. No one expected Arsenal to go from 5th to suddenly challenging and being so far ahead as they were, even going into March. And Newcastle, I think everyone acknowledged that Eddie Howe done a good job, but I don't think anyone was sitting there going, Newcastle, after nearly getting relegated the year before, should go into the top 4. And now it's kind of hit home that the expectations are different. But the difference with both these clubs is Arsenal have now trying to play Champions League week every week in, week out. Newcastle for the first time in what I think is like nearly 2 decades,
20 years,
playing European football midweek as well. Do you think there's some similarities between them, but at different stages? If that makes sense?
I think it comes back to how teams are treating them. Last year, right, teams didn't respect Arsenal, right, because obviously no one expected them to be in a title race. So getting the ball forward to likes of Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, they were just cooking. Every time they got the ball forward, cooking. Now, teams are respecting Arsenal a lot more, playing a lot more low blocks. Yeah, the amount of times I see Arsenal fans on Twitter now moaning about low blocks is because teams respect you. You're a good team.
Yeah,
You're a good football team. So teams are going to do that. They're not going to open up against a good team. Look, that's what PSV did. That's what Bournemouth did. You cooked them, right? I think Newcastle are experiencing that a little bit as well. Why? Because they're a good team. So teams make it harder to play against. So I think they're both experiencing similar things. I think they're obviously going about it in different ways. And I do feel that Newcastle are probably struggling a little bit more than Arsenal in terms of how we actually address this. But Newcastle, the thing is with Newcastle for me, they don't have to rush as much as Arsenal. And the reason is because they're backed by the Saudis. I've told my Newcastle mates, you will be successful. You will win a Premier League in the next decade or so, in my opinion, unless these FFP restrictions are like proper restrictive. Why? Because you've got the richest owners. You'll be able to buy the better players. Arsenal, I feel like Arsenal are more time sensitive. Yeah, because they've got all these players that they keep on telling us are world class. If they don't win a major honour in the next 2-3 years, are all them players going to stay? Or maybe they might look to make a move to where they go and make to where they win trophies. I'm not saying they will. I'm just putting the question out there. So I think they're also in different positions on timescales, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, Mo, last thing, do you agree with that? Do you agree that, Newcastle, we're judging them against last year, but this year they've got European football as well. They haven't got the money, or they haven't got the FFP availability to go and strengthen. Are we judging them too harshly because they over-exceeded?
No, I actually think that Newcastle finishing 10th would be one of the worst failures in the season.
Okay.
You spent a lot of money. You literally got a lot of freaking players, lots of players. You backed your manager, who I thought did an absolutely phenomenal job in the first 18 months when he got them out of the relegation, got them to be statistically the third best team in the country over the past 18 months. Finishing 10th when your stadium was supposed to be a fortress. I have the same thing. Regression for me, right, has to be has to be justified. But regression to that point, from being 4th to finishing 10th, there's no justification.
Sure.
If you consider yourself a big club, spending that money, yes, I know you have a lot of injuries and Tonali suspended and everything, and FFP is restricting you, but you shouldn't be finishing 10th. Brighton, who sold their best players, shouldn't be above you on the table, no matter what. Yeah, and Brighton have injuries as well. So why are Brighton, with all the injuries they have,
plus Europe,
are playing ahead and playing Thursday? It's not Wednesday. Why they are ahead of you, and why is everybody talking about Brighton still being an outsider chance of getting Europa League? I think that's a failure. I'm gonna have the same energy. People just think of the Newcastle that were battling relegation. I'm thinking about the Newcastle that were the third best team in the country for a big period of time, 18 months. That's a long time.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. It's interesting. Look, let's move on. Let's move on to another team. Let's move on to the team that they played, and LB's team. Guys, we talked about this last week. Man City are starting to do Man City things. I'm sure cue all the comments saying that I'm twerking for them, but they're starting to turn in some big performances. They conceded a few against Newcastle, but Mo, I'll start with you because obviously you're not the Man City fan. But the domination of that game was scary in terms of, I think they had something like 78 or 79% of the ball at St. James's Park, something like 20 odd chances. How they weren't 4-5-0 up was beyond me. Sitters being missed left, right, and centre by people like Julian Alvarez, keeper making saves. Should the rest of the league be worried? Are we starting to see now a few people that said they were finished and they shouldn't have let Mahrez and Gundogan go? Are we starting to see that people are starting to be proved a little bit wrong, or we've got City back?
Okay, so to be honest about this game, there are two positives of this game. The number one positive is how City were so easily fluid over the pitch. City actually, and again, Pep Guardiola is proven that why he's one of the best, if not the best coach to ever coach a game. In this game, I saw something completely different than the City that I've watched and the Guardiola that I've watched in Bayern and Barcelona. I saw Doku going to the right side, Phil Foden tucking inside, Bernardo Silva. I saw Diaz going up. I saw a very fluid Manchester City that is different than what Thierry Henry told us. If you remember Thierry Henry when he did the interview and said, Pep Guardiola didn't like me when I changed my position. He wanted me to hug the line and do this. Now we're seeing a different Manchester City, so he's adapting. That's the one positive thing that I saw. The domination thing, I think it's down to Newcastle not wanting to play, because when Newcastle pressed Man City in the 20 minutes, they looked all right. I think so. The second positive thing is that Kevin De Bruyne is coming back, not worried about the injury. I saw Kevin De Bruyne running sprints from the first time he out, which I was watching LB on his channel, and he said something that he believes that Kevin De Bruyne has been fit for a while. It's not now. Didn't you say that, LB?
I did.
And that proved that they waited for the right time to introduce him. They didn't rush him. They waited until. That's why when me and you sat here, Savva, and I said that I'm worried about Kevin De Bruyne coming back from a hamstring injury, because a surgery, you are worried. That's how City, I'm praising them for managing Kevin De Bruyne well. But in my opinion, Pep Guardiola would not be happy about this game. They conceded quite far shots and they defended one-on-one for a lot of time. Newcastle, when they wanted to bypass the press, they were. And I saw a lot of one-on-ones for the Man City defense. Isaac was one-on-one a lot of time with Diaz. Of course, the 2 goals we saw happen when they bypassed the press. There's a lot of spaces. And Man City need to tighten the defense. We know Man City to have a good defense. You cannot have 10 games in the Premier League with 1 clean sheet. That's more than quarter of the league conceding goals in the league. I think the positives is that they outscored the opponent. But I think in any other day, if Kevin De Bruyne didn't come up off the bench and have a world-class performance, they might have lost the game, and we might have had a very, very different talk here. We might have seen, why did you press that high and leave that space for Isak or Gordon in the back, or Almiron? I think this game has positives and negatives, but I disagree with you that we should be saying, yeah, okay, they blown out Newcastle. They still conceded 2 goals. They came from behind.
Sure, but Mo, this is now 1 defeat in 19. This is now 9 wins from their last 10, and the 10th was a draw. They're averaging 3.1 goals a game in their last 9 games without the world's best goal scorer, Erling Haaland. Their form is the best in Europe. Their form is the best in the Premier League. I mean, aren't the numbers and the data, isn't everything stacking up on top of what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, but I understand what Mo's saying, Savva, because he is right. At the top level, Premier League, Champions League, especially when you've got a very, very respectful Liverpool side still competing, that defence does need to improve. Yeah, because if you look at the Chelsea game, 4-4, we conceded 4 goals. Our defence was horrific that day. We conceded 3 goals against Spurs. Yeah, even the Liverpool goal, I think we needed to do more to close Trent down there. And we're lucky, whilst Alvarez did miss a load of chances against Newcastle, we're lucky in the end that Kevin De Bruyne came on and saved us. Now, there's a couple of things that could happen here. One, the defence doesn't improve, but Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland stay fit and we just outscore teams, and that's fine. Or 2, that defence does get better and City could really do some damage on this Premier League. Because if that defence, because Mo, you would agree with me, right? If we do fix up that defence to maybe where it was at the end,
it's over.
You would providing the players stay fit. Yeah. You can keep Rodri fit, Haaland fit, Kevin De Bruyne fit, and the defence fixes up.
Liverpool are the one that have to keep up, not the other way around.
Correct. But if that defence doesn't fix up, then the race is still on. Because
let me add something to you there.
Let me add one point. Just before you do, Mo, sorry, really quickly, just before you do. Sorry, I've been holding on to this for a while and I want to show you something as well. Big up to Ed's Mancunian Therapy. I love that as a name. Big up Ed, who has said 5th gets Champions League and it's Arsenal, and Arsenal still bad. Is 5th definitely getting it? Is the question I've got. No. I don't think it's a definite, Ed.
No, I think he's asking the question. If Arsenal finish 5th and they still get Champions League, do you think that's a bad season?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say one thing.
They've gone from 2nd to 5th.
Can I say one thing about Arsenal?
Yeah, go for it, man.
If Arsenal finish below Spurs with Angepostecoglou, who we had no idea who he is, and with this depleted squad, right? I think a lot of managers, and I titled my video, "Is Ange exposing other managers?" He is.
Well, look, guys, just really, really quickly, big up, Ed. Thank you for that. Sorry, yeah, I get it. I still think if they go from 2nd to 5th in 1 year, that is
big regression.
Big regression with the amount of money they spent and for how loud their fans have been. Guys, I just got to bring this up really, really quickly. A couple of things we need to bring up. Hopefully, you can see there that there is breaking news in the world of football. It's news that we knew was coming. Breaking news that Everton and Nottingham Forest have been charged with breaching Premier League profitability and sustainability rules. It basically says Premier League clubs are permitted to lose a maximum of 105 million over a 3-year period.
Yes.
And there's more to follow. And then off the back of that, I'll show you this. This is what David Ornstein has just said from The Athletic. David Ornstein has said this: Nottingham Forest and Everton have been referred to an independent commission over an alleged breach of the Premier League's profitability and sustainability regulations. More to follow. So, look, Everton are not having a good year for getting their bums slapped, are they? They're in a bit of trouble, and Nottingham Forest as well. We'll come back to that in a minute. Remind me in a minute that I want to talk about FFP. But okay, fair enough. At this stage, though, Mo, are you making Man City favourites at this stage?
They are
2 points behind.
But I wanted to talk about something that the problem. I think this league might not be won by losses. It might be won or lost by a game like the Crystal Palace against Man City, where Pep Guardiola wasn't happy at all. These 2 points, that's the problem. The defense can lose you 2 points. Just like this against Palace, Man City. That's unacceptable in this division. That's unacceptable when you're going against Liverpool as well. If they keep the same momentum, though, if Liverpool keep the same momentum, Man City have always been favorites. But again, Man City, Kevin De Bruyne coming back solves problems for them offensively, creating chances and stuff. But I'm still looking at the 2 parts of the game, and I still look that the defense need to be tightened, because you can score 2 goals in a game, but you can concede 2 goals if you play like that. But so Man City are favorites. They've always been favorites, but I still think that the margin isn't big, in my opinion. I still think, depending on Liverpool and the form and how Mohamed Salah, the difference is Mohamed Salah comes back. If he's not focused, like what happened before in the last AFCON, because we have seen this history, it's recent history, I think Liverpool fall off. It all depends on how he comes back.
So give me a point. So if you're saying City are favourites, what do you? I already know LB's answer before I go to him, because I was streaming with him earlier. What's the points gap for you between Man City and Liverpool if it does finish that way in the Premier League? What do you reckon it will be? Last game of the season type points?
About last. So Man City might win it in game week 36. So 2 games left, and might 6 points or 5 points, or game week 36, 37. That's what I would say. So about from 3 points to 6 points, depending on the results in the last game.
Yeah. And LB, yours was it 5 to 7? You said
5
earlier,
to 9.
5 to 9. 5 to 9.
9 points. You think you're going to win the league against Liverpool with 9 points?
I think we could win the league between 5 and 9 points. Yeah, that's not a lot, by the way. People hear that and go, "Oh my god, it's only 3 games."
And the thing is, when you look at Man City's next, we had this chat last week, LP, on a show we did, and we brought up Man City's next 8 fixtures that included Newcastle away. And I remember you said, LB, if we get through the Newcastle game with a win, you said it'll be a tough, couldn't even be a draw. But the 7 after that look very, very winnable. A lot of games at the Etihad against teams like Brentford, teams like Everton, teams like Burnley. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, I've always thought they're going to win it.
Before they face Liverpool, they faced Chelsea and Man United at home. I would say it might be Man United's a full-on conclusion. They will lose that game, Man United. However, at the end, it's a derby. Pep Guardiola wouldn't take that game easy. Man City have to be on their like best to win against, because Man United will be, again, they might defend very well. Look at what they did against Liverpool. They put the 11 players and they defended very deep. So Chelsea as well. Chelsea play very good on the counter-attack. They're not all easy games. They are winnable games.
No, but there's no easy games, bro. None of the games are easy.
They're not easy games. You playing Brentford at home is an easy game. You playing Everton at home is an easy game, isn't it?
Well, I personally say, genuinely, based off current form, that Bournemouth away is more tricky than United at home.
I agree.
Yeah, I
I
think
agree
you're
with
better
that.
Man
This is
United.
why I never mentioned Bournemouth away, because
The
I know that
home- the home
every
games-
game that every team that goes to Bournemouth is a struggle because the
Bro,
Iraola is setting them
yes.
very well.
Correct. But Manchester City in 2023 didn't lose a single game at home. I think we drew 3 games in the Premier League in the whole of the year.
Yeah, I'm talking about a draw. I'm not talking about you losing at all.
Yeah, but even
Yeah,
that's statistically unlikely.
I mean, let's have a look then. So if we actually look at City's games, I'm going to ignore the Tottenham Man City Cup game because that's got no bearing on the Premier League. You've got Man City at home to Burnley, away at Brentford, who are terrible at the moment, home to Everton, who haven't won in 5 or 6 now, something like that. Ignore the Copenhagen game. Chelsea at home, I fully expect them to win that. Brentford at home, you fully expect. I mean, this one for me, funnily enough, is the trickiest one. But then Man United at home, then you've got Liverpool. The big one at Anfield. For me, so is that 7 league games? 1,
7,
2,
7.
6.
Yeah, 7
before Liverpool, isn't it? 6,
7. I counted 7, but maybe I'm wrong.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before 7. So 7 Premier League games. LB, how many points you taking from those 7?
We should win every single game. The 2 hardest fixtures there, genuinely, is Brentford away, Bournemouth away. All the home games we should be winning, in my personal opinion.
So was that 4 home games and 3 away games you've got?
Correct. Yeah.
Right, Mo. How many points are they getting out of that 7? Out of that 21, how many points?
19.
19. So you think they'll draw one of them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
that's still decent, I'll still take that.
yeah, absolutely. So if you were to take that, here we go. So if you were looking at, let's say 19 to 21 points, so Man City would end that 7-game period. So after only 27 games of the Premier League, they'd have 63. Sorry, no, they wouldn't. They'd have 64 or 62 points, with still another 33 to play for.
I just want to basically, in my head, bro, I just want to go to Anfield, top of the league, ideally with a loss as insurance policy, because we typically don't do very well at Anfield, right? We typically lose. Or to be fair, we've got a little bit better in recent years, but yeah, I would personally like to go to Anfield if possible with a loss in the bank. So goal difference could be crucial here, because checking the league out and Liverpool's goal difference is the same as City's. That's the dream scenario. Go to Liverpool, and even if you lose, unless you get absolutely slapped up, you're still top of the table on goal difference. That's the dream situation.
So for Liverpool, before they face Manchester City, the difference between Manchester City and Liverpool, Manchester City play Copenhagen in the middle, but Liverpool, because they topped the group, they skipped around the 32 in the Europa League, so they don't play until later. So they have more time in the middle. I think if I'm not mistaken, the cup final is late after this. They play Fulham away. But
here you go, Mo. Here you go.
I'm looking at the fixtures. I think Bournemouth, same as Man City. If Man City win, Liverpool win. I think Chelsea at home, same to Man City as well.
Yep.
I think Arsenal away is the tricky one. I reckon Liverpool actually get a draw or win this game based on the current form. I actually think so. I actually think the way Liverpool play, they can win or draw this game. Burnley away, Brentford away, same as Man City. Luton at home, they'll win that game. Nottingham Forest away. I think actually Liverpool have easier apart from the Arsenal game.
I mean, it could be, guys, looking at those fixtures as well for Liverpool, it could be them going in really neck and neck right there.
So can I ask you something then, LB and Savva? Very tricky question. If they go with 2 points, so the same number of points difference as of now, and they go to that game, and Liverpool win the game to make a 5-point separation in March, with only 10 or 11 games left, do we think Liverpool at that point are favorites to win the league? 5-point separation, 10 games left. 10 games, because 7 games before Liverpool.
They're favourites, yeah, for sure.
They're favourites.
Because then it goes back to what I said earlier. It's then, if you're looking at 10 games, if Liverpool win 7 of their last 10, Man City have to win 9. So it means Man City could drop 1 game. That's assuming that Liverpool only wins 7. So look, of course, it would make them favourites, but I just think
that's a very plausible situation, Savva. Very plausible situation here.
Mate, of course. But I'm just going on previous seasons where we've seen that Man City go to these grounds, they grind out the results in this stage of the season. I'm not saying Liverpool can't. I think it's going to be really close. And you'd have to say whoever finishes higher after the 27th game, which is each other, they're going to have to be favourites, aren't they? They're going to have to be because... But, you know, they've both got some tough fixtures in that last sort of 10 games as well. So I think it's exciting. And I think those two are going to be the title race. I don't think the others will be. I think it will be those two in a title race, neck and neck. And then I think that the other 3 will be vying for 3rd, 4th and 5th. That's just my opinion.
It depends. It depends. My point about Liverpool, it all depends. It all depends on injuries for Liverpool. And it all depends on Mohamed Salah. I said Liverpool have X factors, but Man City have a whole team of players that are performing well. The likes of Oscar Bob. Oh my God. Where do they breed these guys? I have no idea. I have no. I want that. I want that, to be honest. How do you come in at St. James's Park, left wing, with a £1 million player sitting on the bench, and you are ahead of him in the picking order, for you to come in and the coach is like, well, yeah, we're putting our hopes on you to win that game for us, Oscar, who I don't know how old you are, so come in. And that calmness on dribbling the goal, that calmness of the first touch, that trust in the teammate to pass the ball like this, I want what they are feeding these kids. I want to eat that. Like, I want this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely madness from Oscar Bob. We got to say that was a wonderful goal. Listen, guys, just really, really quickly, and we'll move on from Manchester City now, and I want to talk about some of the FFP stuff. Before we do, big up to George, who's always in the chat, channel member, and said, let's have LB and Mo back again. LB and Mo will be back every Monday. It's what they go to bed dreaming of on a Sunday night nowadays, coming onto this channel. So they'll be back every Monday at 3 or 3:30, depending on what message I get from these two claiming they need to change shows around and shift. But we'll be here every Monday. What else would be great to be here? Thanks for that, George. Would be a few more likes. Come on, guys. We've managed to get to 140. We should be on 200, 250 easily. Guys, Nottingham Forest spent a lot of money in the last 3 transfer windows. You could say it worked. They avoided the drop last year when they were one of the favourites to go down. They bought something like 20 new footballers last season. This summer again, it was like transfer deadline day was literally camped out in Nottingham Forest training ground. They're now in trouble. Everton they're already in trouble. They've lost 10 points. They're in trouble again. What's happening, guys? What is going on with FFP? And are we in danger of football getting really, really silly now?
They need to have Man City's lawyers. This is what they needed to do.
I'll tell you,
That's what they needed to do, bro. If you have Man City's lawyers and Chelsea's lawyers, I think they would have survived.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening here, yeah? I'll tell you what's happening. What is happening is the unintended consequence of fast-acting rules which were designed to stop certain clubs, mine in particular, from reaching the top level. The problem is you have unintended consequences here. And this doesn't just affect Michael, it affects every club. Manchester City fans have been telling everyone for the last decade that these rules are the biggest load of nonsense going. Well, you shake your head, Mo. But
No. I'm shaking my head about this comment. Do you see the comment on the screen?
Oh.
What does it have to do with the discussion? I'm sorry.
Yeah, DJ on one's regular in my chat. DJ, focus the mind, man. We're talking about serious stuff, bro. Come on, DJ.
He's talking serious talk. And
to be fair, this comment was 11 minutes ago. So to be fair,
okay.
Sorry, LB, but I was laughing at.
No, it's okay. I'll that. But DJ and one man, he says lol in the chat, bro. Focus your mind, but this is serious. Listen. These rules are a load of jokes, yeah? A load of jokes. what I want to do here, right? I want to sit here and say, "Told you so." I want to sit here and say, "Well, they breached the rules. They breached the rules." The problem is these rules are ridiculous. Why are Nottingham Forest not allowed to invest in their team? Why are they not allowed to do that? Why is that owner not allowed to put money into that football club to keep them up? Why is he not allowed to do that? Why is Newcastle's owners not allowed to spend money to help the squad and make them a better team? Why are we restricting the teams, which then restricts the league? Yeah, it restricts the league. Why are we doing this? Why? Because the cartel clubs, by the way, my team's not one of those. They don't like us. The cartel clubs are the Uniteds, the Liverpools, and probably the Arsenals as well. These are the real cartel clubs. They want to stop other football clubs from spending money and getting into that top four. Because why? Because then you end up like United. United, these top four clubs were getting top four. They were getting the Champions League revenue. You know when the Sky used to call it the Big Four? The owners loved it. The owners loved it. Their clubs were getting the Champions League money every year and no one else could get in there. Well, that's not the case anymore. You know why? Because some owners who have a lot of money have bought football clubs and they're not bothered about the money. They don't want a dividend. They don't want to take dividends out of the football club. You think Sheikh Mansour wants £70 million a year dividend? You think the Saudis want a £70 million a year dividend? They don't. Even the Aston Villa guy, I'm pretty sure he's a billionaire as well. They don't want a dividend. They want to win. And they don't like it. The cartel clubs don't like it. So they made rules to prevent it. But now the problem is it's now starting to affect the clubs lower on because it affects everyone.
But let me tell you why I'm wrong here. So I used to agree with you about this, this aspect of, but Everton specifically, when FFP was presented, it was presented to prevent clubs from going bankrupt. And if you're following Everton closely, that debt is actually forcing the owner to actually sell the club, which is FFP Inter, for example. We had to take a big loan that our club might actually be sold for peanuts. So I agree with you, but not every owner is Sheikh Mansour or the Saudis. The Farhad guy, the Everton owner, when the debt happened, he's like, well, I really have to sell the club now because I don't want to spend my money on the club. So that's why financial fair play had to be introduced for the right reason. There are ways around it. And you provided it. Hold on.
It wasn't.
You actually said a lot of solutions before, like clubs need to put a certain amount of money on the side to prevent this bankruptcy thing. But I actually, even though I agreed with you before, I look at first and I look at what's his name, Farhad, the Everton owner, and I actually see why financial fair play. Imagine if the loss was more than that. This Farhad guy isn't going to build a club out, isn't. He's just going to take a loan and the club will be in debt and the club might go bankrupt or go to administration. Not everyone is Sheikh Mansour. LB, Farhad guy wants to sell the club because it's in debt. He doesn't want to continue. It's actually reality now. You know that Everton were on the way to sell, but the Premier League did not approve the company that offered to buy the club because of some regulations and some shady accounting and stuff. That 1, 2, 3, whatever company that happened. So actually, this is why FFP is there. But there are other ways around it.
But Mo, what you've said there, look, I've just had a cheeky little look at the actual net worth of the clubs. And I get that not everyone is Sheikh Mansour. I get that. But look at the worth of all of these clubs, right? All the way down to Tony Bloom in 15th. Worth 1.2 billion. 1.03 billion. Goes all the way up. Even the Crystal Palace owners are worth 4.3 billion. The Wolves owners, 5 billion. West Ham, look at, like, these are billionaires. I kind of agree to a little bit with LB. Why? If I right now go and buy, I don't want to pick one of the big boys. That's pointless. If I go and say, you know what, I am buying Luton Town. I'm buying Luton Town. I'm a multi-billionaire. By the way, if I was a multi-billionaire, I'd have so much more fun with my life than wanting to buy a football club and having all that stress. But if I'm worth £10 billion and I go and buy Luton Town, why shouldn't I, Mo, be able to go, okay, you want a brand new 300 million stadium? There you go. right, we want to buy some players and I'll
We're
pay.
not accountants. So
No, that's got nothing to do with accountants. I'm asking why shouldn't they be allowed to do it with their money?
Can I answer you based on what I read? So the
Yeah.
guy Farhad is worth 3 billion. That doesn't mean he has 3 billion.
No,
that doesn't mean.
Of course.
Okay. But hold on. That loss of 200 million, that's a big percentage of his net worth, of how this guy is worth. You guys, you want this guy to bail Everton out with 10th of what the guy's worth. He has businesses and stuff. I think this is not you. If you ask anyone in the world, any account, you tell them, they made a mistake. He made a mistake by being in debt. It was a risk and it didn't pay off. Everton, Nottingham Forest is the same. They mismanaged the clubs. And I promise you, they won't be able to build the club out. They won't be able. They will take loans based on the Chinese owners that own Inter. They won't. Not everyone. 4 billion, right, in the grand scheme of things is big for us. But for them, if you ask them to pay 300 million debt, that's close to 10% of their net worth just to build a club out. They would rather say, no. Sell that club. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to pay 10% of my wealth to build a club out? I mismanaged the club. I made a mistake. We'll pay the fines. And I'm going to take a loan and I'm going to sell the club. Have you ever seen an owner pay the club's debt? I've never seen this. They always take loans because, as LB said, actually football club business isn't a profitable business. Some clubs make 20 million a year. That's the profit. The rest are expenses. I actually think FFP was introduced for the good reasons, but in the same time, I think the way they could have done something else, to guarantee that clubs don't go bankrupt. I actually think I get what LB is saying, and I sympathize with Man City because I'm a big advocate. If your owner is very rich and they want to spend to improve, because I went to the Etihad and I've seen the improvements around the stadium, and I'm all for that. And I'm all for a team like Man City team. It's simple, but again, there has to be a way. And this is the way they introduced it. It is wrong. I agree. But I know why it was introduced, because to avoid stuff like this.
So can I ask you guys a question, right? And obviously, you were right to put that out, Mo. I'm not an accountant. You're not an accountant. LB, as far as I'm aware, isn't an accountant. If he is. Right. If they wanted to introduce something that was fair, now maybe this is me being really simplistic and you can all tell me I'm thick as dogs, whatever, right? But if they really wanted to say what was fair, why can't they turn around and say, okay, then every summer, each club can only spend 150 million pounds?
Can't do that.
Right, hang on, hear me out. Right? Or each club, each summer, you can only be at a minus 50 million pound deficit. So if you spend 150 million, you must make at least 50 million back. Why can they not do that rather than these complicated rules that are spread over 3 years? I just feel like there's got to be a simpler way than the whole 3 years of accounts adding up, isn't there?
Okay, so there's two things there we need to address. One, are we trying to stop irresponsible spending like Chelsea, spending £1 billion in 2 years, right? If we're trying to do that, just come out and say that. Or are you trying to stop stop teams from going bust? I believe, personally, that there's very little that you can do to stop teams going bust unless you want to hurt the growth of ambitious owners and ambitious clubs. At the end of the day, football clubs are businesses, right? Sometimes some of them are going to go bust. It's sad. Right, but what's the option? You put in rules like this, but then you restrict owners from putting money in and backing, like Forest, for example. The guy wants his club to be successful, so he's bought players and put money in there. And what you're trying to do is stop him from doing that. Well, then people will stop buying the football clubs because they won't be able to be ambitious. So you can't. I feel like you can't have your cake and eat it, man. You either let it be, right, and just go free like we used to do. But then, unfortunately, clubs are going to go bust. Or you bring in these regulations, but then you're preventing competition. You're just preventing competition. And you can't say you're not, because this guy's just invested a lot of money into Forest, and now you're telling me he can't do it.
Yes, he can do it because he invested a lot of money last year and almost got relegated. What's that proof? The FFP is there. It's done with the wrong way, but it's done for the right things. It's to prevent someone like Nottingham Forest to invest wrong. If they got
do you
relegated
mean?
last
How
year
did-
after getting 11 or 12 players in and spending that much money.
But they didn't. They didn't. So it was a success.
No, but at the end, they are spending more than they make.
And if the owner wants to do that, then why are you telling the owner he can't do that? Why are
The
you telling
owner
this?
isn't doing that. The club is, the owner isn't. They take loans, LB. They are in debt because they take loans.
But if the owner
See the
is
difference?
there,
You aren't seeing what is happening. Do you know why they are in debt? They are in debt because they take loans. Because the owners don't want to do what you're saying.
But does this happen in any other walk of life? Does
they
this
don't just
happen
get
in
loans.
any other business?
The loans have got to be backed by something. The loans are going to be backed by something. So what, they're just getting these loans from the bank and they're going, oh, well, what's the loan backed against?
Yes, companies do that. My company, instead
No
of spending the cash flow, I promise you, bro, my company went bankrupt because of spending the cash flow. They took a loan to support the business segment, and then they went bankrupt.
So you think a bank's just handed this guy 220 million and not backing it against anything?
Bro,
not backing it against his personal worth, not backing it against
the club. They do it against the Inter.
Nah.
Oak Tree. Okay, listen to me. Oak Tree, Inter, but Inter for different reasons. Oak Tree, which is the company that loaned Inter the money, they took them, and I'm not an accountant. Okay, I'm just telling you what I see. Right? Oak Tree, Inter took loans from them. If we don't pay the loan, it's as simple as that. They take over the club, bro. In England, clubs go in administration because they can't take the loan. Do you know what happens?
Mo, you know what happens? You saying this? What's the solution?
I'll tell you what the solution is. You ask for the solution. Every owner that buys a club has to have a trust fund on the side, and if they mismanage the club, right, that pays the debt, and the owner has to go.
Great, and that's my idea. I told you that months ago.
Yes,
I've been saying this for the last decade.
And I'm taking it from you because that allows someone like Man City to say, we're spending, and if we go bankrupt, here is a trust fund. But let me add one more thing about the competition, because I believe in fair competition. Man City owners, because they are a state-owned club or Newcastle, they shouldn't be allowed to spend above everybody else. They shouldn't be, right? There has to be a way, but how to create fair competition. So even a club like Nottingham Forest can compete. Okay, if Nottingham Forest want to compete with Man City and Man United, they have the financial means to do it. There has to be a way for them to do it. You're not gonna like this. It's called salary cap.
That's the worst idea I've ever heard of. That is a shambolic.
I love this. You're not gonna like it. It's the worst idea.
Salary cap.
I know that
for clubs or
100%.
Club salary cap.
Yeah,
or player individual.
No. Club. That means that actually makes simple as LB, and it's not my idea, by the way. This is the UEFA's president idea. It's not my idea, and people are gonna say it's American or whatever. It's.
Can I ask a question though? Can I ask a question?
Can I explain it first?
And yeah.
Just simple.
Yeah, go.
All the clubs have the same salary cap, which is 100 million, for example, right?
For the year, right?
Yeah, on your wages this year, 100 million.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to go and get Mbappe and pay him 90% of that wage. It's up to you to do that. It's completely up to you, right?
And then everyone else needs to be like me, you, and LB getting signed up.
So you're not going to get the best players to the division. So what you're saying is, forget the superstars. The superstars are not going to come to the Premier League.
No. So hold on. That will be across all. He's saying it's going to be across all Europe, bro. It's going to be across all Europe. And that will be, it's not going to be 100 million LB. It will be 300, 400 million a year, right? So you will be allowed to get as many stars. What that will do is that if Nottingham Forest owner wants to get the best player, he's gonna go and say, well, you know what? I'm gonna offer you the biggest salary, and I'm gonna try, and actually will do very good management for clubs. And by the way, you're talking about, and you will now not to have to pay wages astronomically to players and say compete with wages. You'll only compete with buying players, which is up to you now. But
I just disagree with that. Can't disagree with that more. I think it's a horrific idea, bro. Can't lie respectfully.
It's not my idea. It's a UEFA.
So can
I know why you don't like UEFA, because they're going after your club. So it's simple.
Can I ask something? Again, when I ask this, I'm playing devil's advocate for the sake of the show. In any other walk of life, do you have this though? Like, does somebody take over Amazon and is told, They're not allowed to put all their money in on new products and whatever. I'm sure it's not that simple, but in any other walk of life, are you not allowed to buy something and then invest however much you want into it?
Of course you are.
Why is it just football then?
Because, like I say, I think these rules are designed to keep the top clubs at the top. And this carnivore fella in the chat, bro, you couldn't be more wrong. You put in a nonsense comment a minute ago, yeah, saying if it was how I wanted it, 75% of clubs would be bust. Are you start watching football since 2010? Did you? Have you only been watching football since 2010? Because let me tell you something. For over 100 years, yeah, we had no FFP restrictions, bro. We'd only come in 2010, 2011 or something like that. So I don't know whether you've just been watching football for the last decade. If you have, fair. That's why you don't understand it. I respect that. Yeah, you don't understand it because you've only been watching football 10 years. But in the 90s, we didn't have an FFP. In the early 2000s, we didn't have an FFP. In the 80s, we didn't have an FFP. So I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're just waffling, bro. You're just waffling. So listen, for me, you're waffling a little bit with that idea, bro.
A little bit.
Listen, I just don't see.
He was talking to you, really.
Yeah, the only solution that I personally see, yeah, is what Mo said earlier, which is my idea. Is by having a trust fund, which you have to put 1 year's worth of club expenses into an account that can't be touched by the owners. It's an escrow account. So if one day the owner wakes up and goes, nah, I'm not putting any more money in, you've got 1 year's worth of funds. The club's got a year to be sold to a new owner. But then you get problems with that because then people will say, well, but that's easy then for City and Newcastle and the state-owned clubs because they can deposit in that. Listen, it's not perfect, but if you want to protect the clubs, that's what you got to do. Anything else that restricts the spending of money, whether it be a wage cap, salary cap, spend, is only going to hurt the league. That's a fact.
No surprise coming from the richest owner in the league, or the second richest owner in the league.
But can I ask, hasn't it always been this way? Like, I listen, again, devil's advocate, hasn't it always been this way? Like, I watched a show the other day where they were saying, they were talking about, well, name clubs that have done it without big money being put in. And I saw people who clearly don't know what they're talking about saying, oh, like Blackburn. It's like, well, if you actually go look how much money Blackburn was spending at the time, they were spending big money. But obviously the big money in 1993, 4, whatever it was, is not the same now. But if you looked in inflation-wise, it's the same money, if that makes sense, right? I didn't explain that well, but I knew what I meant. Why are we suddenly doing it now? Who is benefiting? Because if we're saying it's to stop clubs like Chelsea and City, whatever, dominating and just being able to go and spend what they like, look at the effect so far it's having on Everton's, on Nottingham Forest's. At the moment, they're being punished for what? For trying to stay in the league?
Well, there's not very many people. The funniest thing is about all this thing, yeah, City are now benefiting from FFP. City are benefiting from FFP. And we was the initial targets of this thing. Mo, you agree with that? We are benefiting now from FFP?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So but then, so why don't, even
because
though
it's preventing Arsenal from spending more money.
But this is the thing. But then people are so dumb because they go, well, of course you don't want FFP. Are you dumb? Do you not understand the rules? FFP is good for City. FFP right now is good for my football club. I want it scrapped because it's anti-competitive. I'm all for more billionaires. More billionaires. Get more billionaires in the division, yeah? I want every club to be able to spend money, to be able to win trophies. Because unfortunately, that is just the world we live in now. Yeah, you could all live in cloud cuckoo land if you want.
Yeah, I do like this because I'm against capitalism because I live in America. So that's the difference. So what you're saying, LB, I'm being serious now, 100% serious. I know this is deep. If Savva allows us to talk, it's I know this is deep, but I promise you, LB, you allow people to compete without limits has its benefits, but also the consequences are shit and they are very bad. And you ask, and I live in America and I'm an American, right? Having people spending money on dominating markets isn't going to end up well.
No. Can I just interrupt there? No, because you said dominating markets. If every club is super rich and can spend and invest.
Yeah, but what about someone is 10 times richer than the other? The others can. That's what.
Yeah, but this money, bro. Savva brought it up before, man. These people are worth 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 million, billion.
Huh?
When you get to
Yes,
Tens
but
of
football is becoming so expensive that you're asking an owner who has 3 billion, Neymar's price is 10th his wealth. It's different than asking a Saudi to pay. Okay, a
But you don't have
Saudi
to
can
buy
pay
the Neymars of
Benzema.
this world, do you? You don't have to buy
See,
Neymar.
it's not a competition then.
What are you talking about?
See, that's the difference. That's what I'm talking about. We reach a point, LB, where the players will be 200 and 300 million, right? An owner of worth is 4 billion or 3 billion. One player is third of their wealth.
But you don't need to buy those players.
So that means only rich clubs, only richer people will be able. How many states are going to own clubs? And I don't mind it. If all the clubs are owned by states that are very rich, that's competitive. I'm all for it. But I can't have a club that is the net worth of the guy is 3 billion and another one that is 60, 70 billion.
But
That's
you don't. But you're looking at it in the sense that it's all about money and whoever's got the richest owner is going to win. No, it's not though, is it?
You actually said, LB, that you want clubs to be able to spend whatever they want if they can.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But
Sorry for saying that.
It removes competition.
How does it increases competition?
How if you go?
Because you're looking at it going, you have to have the Neymars, you have to have the Mbappes. That's just totally not true. That's just totally not true.
That's competition, LB. I don't know how you're not getting that.
I get it, but you're
competition.
Unless you have the Neymar or the Mbappe, you ain't going to win the league. You ain't winning nothing. That's just not true. Arsenal finished second.
It makes your chances much better, isn't it?
What?
LB, simple. I have to go to the extreme for me to demonstrate my point. If City tomorrow or Newcastle or whoever, like they're the richest club, they are 10 times richer than the other club, they go and do what the Saudis, right? Their league. Instead of investing in their league, they're allowed to do this for Newcastle. So they go and buy Mbappe, and they were offered Haaland, and they buy Vini. So they go offer Real Madrid 300 million tomorrow to buy Vini Jr. And they offer Paris Saint-Germain this. And they gather every superstar in the world in their team. Do you think that's a competitive way of playing the sport?
But they don't. Yeah, but you're making, like I say, you keep going to these.
That's why I'm going to the extreme. I'm going to the extreme.
We won the league with Jack Grealish on the wing last year, a player that you notoriously hate. Yeah. Real Madrid have Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. You don't have to have these mad superstar players. I know
what you're saying. You are right.
They had Martinelli and Saka, two cheap players.
Yes, can
I interject a different?
Sorry. I just want to tell him something. You are 100% right. But if you allow everyone to spend whatever they want, the richer will only overtake the market. It happens in every business. They will eliminate competition by spending more than them.
But what else is the solution? But what else can you do?
I want to throw something into the ring. Just a little idea I heard I thought was quite interesting. I don't think it's ever going to work. Is there no way that the governing bodies of football can put a cap on what a player can be sold, bought for?
No, because they're businesses.
No, I understand that, but they're already controlling the business. This is my point, right? They're controlling the businesses already, right? If you own a football club, LB, it's your business, right? So the Man City's owners, right? Sheikh Mansour is your owner, right? If I'm not wrong, he owns the club, right? He owns all of it. As far as I'm aware, he owns the stadium, he owns the training, he owns everything.
There is a company that in America that has shares. It's just,
but you know what I mean, right?
I get exactly what you're meaning.
He's got control of the football club. In theory, it's his business, and in any other walk of life, if it's your business, if he wants to go and whack down 300 million and buy Neymar, Mbappe, whoever, he can, in theory. So why wouldn't they be able to introduce something if they're already controlling what people are actually allowed to spend? Why can't they control what the players are actually being sold for?
No, because that's a fundamental difference, though, Savva. Having a competition rule where you're saying you can only spend a certain amount based on your revenue is completely different to some random organisation valuing your assets.
No, mate, I understand. I think that, listen, for me, I want it to go back to what it was.
I'm not getting the question that Savva's
right, okay, so basically what I'm saying is, by the way, I heard this wasn't my idea. I heard this the other day on a show I was watching where they were saying, right, what if they turn around and said, right, okay, the most expensive player, the most amount of value you can sell a player for is 100 million. You can't have players going over 100 million pounds being bought or sold. Or clubs are only allowed to buy 5 players in any given window, but you have to sell the same amount of players.
Which one's not a bad solution?
What he's saying as well, it's the same as salary cap, just having a spending cap, same. Same thing.
See, why would a spending cap not work, LB, for
Same
you?
as salary cap. Yeah, he's gonna say.
If you said the most you can spend in a window is okay, let me chuck an idea. I'm just spitballing.
From fans ideas. Yeah, go on.
Right. Listen, ideas. No ideas stupid, I got told once. I know that's not true. Right. So if we were to say, right, you can spend a maximum of 150 million in a window, but in that very same window, you must have sold 100 million pounds worth to compensate.
Okay.
Right. So that your club is never, ever, ever getting into ridiculous amounts of debt. And then they could put an addendum to the side of that. We like our addendums, LB, where you can't for two windows in a row be in a deficit. One of those windows you must be in a plus. Why would they not rather do something like that rather than spread it over 3 years, make it this complicated? Like it is, it's complicated, it's ridiculous. Why could they not do that? So you've got 150 million spent. Now it's up to you guys.
Mbappe's worth more than 150 million, Savva.
Okay, so you don't buy Mbappe.
So the league loses out.
But when you say the league loses out, how many, let's be fair, when you say the league, what we're talking about is maybe 1 or 2 clubs that can afford him lose out.
Yeah, we also talk about this country. This country wants to see the best players in the league. The Premier League wants the best players in the league.
FFP is all over Europe. It's not only Man City. So and Premier League makes the most money. So Premier League will always be allowed to spend the most money. So,
but you have a player like Mbappe. He's worth more than 150 million. So how's that going to work?
It's gonna. But that's the whole point. That salary cap, LB, you're always talking in the Premier League, and when I talk the whole Europe. The salary cap is a UEFA's idea. It isn't the Premier League idea. The spending money it has to be across Europe, LB. It can't be only across.
It's okay. So it's across Europe. Mbappe's still worth more than 150 million quid. So then what are you going to do? He just gets revalued at 150.
You make it okay, LB. You're taking his words literally, like exactly what he's saying.
That's what he said. What do you want me to do?
It doesn't have to be 100. It can be 200. It can be even more, a little bit. Like when I say salary cap, when I say 100, well, we can make measurements. And by the way, the salary cap can increase by the year based on inflation and stuff. We're given an example. This is just an example. 100 million isn't the right number. Maybe 150. And by the way, even if it's 100 million, now Mbappe's price is just 100 million. Simple.
I just think that's it again. I just don't.
I think how that works. Cap is the solution, and I think people just don't realize that if we allow LB to manage the league, some clubs will dominate the market. I'm not saying dominate the league. Will dominate the market, and they will be able to spend a lot.
So like pre-2010. So before 2010, you're saying that's how it was because there was no financial fair play.
Okay, but there wasn't a state-owned club with unlimited.
You had Real Madrid, who spent a lot of money. You had Manchester United, who spent a lot of money. They bought Andy Cole in what 1993, 1994, whatever it was, for 9 million.
Real Madrid bought like whatever they did before, but use a state-owned club is different than a club like Real Madrid.
No, and I get it. Listen.
You have to understand one thing: Real Madrid aren't owned by anybody. It's a club that has shares, and there's a board of directors that gets assigned, and they report to people, and the club is in debt, and they have to manage the business and do all that, right? So it's not a state-owned club. Your club, Newcastle club, Inter are owned by personnel, by people that actually have money. That's completely different from a club that is owned. Anyway, we're going sideways here.
Well, I enjoyed that. Look, we have run out of time, but I enjoyed that. I didn't think so many people in the chat would get so riled up by a whole FFP and sustainability and profitability.
Basically, there's just nothing that we can all agree on. If it comes down to it, there's nothing that you've got. First of all, just to quickly wrap up, yeah, you've got to first of all decide what you want to actually, because we're getting mixed. Do you want to stop clubs from going bust, or are you trying to stop reckless spending like 100 million, like £1 billion by Chelsea in 18 months, like City spending whatever what you want to cook my club? That's fine. Do you want to do that, or do you want to protect clubs? Right? Because at the moment, you say it, most try to pretend like it's you try to protect a club, and I'm saying no, you're not. You're trying to stop investment. And by the way, I'm a City fan. My club just won the treble, right? So obviously that makes no sense me saying that. You know, I should want this. So you got to decide which one you want. Then you've got to tackle it. The problem is, I do not see any sort of solution that makes any sort of sense. I don't see any solution that anyone has spoken about today that makes any sort of sense.
No, for you, don't say that. Don't say that. For you, it doesn't make sense. For someone like me, it makes sense.
Yeah, for you it makes sense. For me, it
all
makes
right.
Let's leave it there.
Don't do that.
I'm gonna leave it on this wonderful Spursy comment that's so true. So Daniel Levy with a salary cap, mate. We've been doing that for 20 years already, lads. Yeah, Daniel Levy, and Daniel Levy has kind of put his own FFP in place on himself for Tottenham Hotspur for 2 decades. So we don't have to worry about that. I think they showed the other day, and we are going to wrap up now. I think they showed the other day that Spurs can spend, I think it's 338 million without selling anybody else before we're anywhere near hitting our FFP regulation. Like we've got money to spend if we need to. We just don't like spending. Big up to you two. I really enjoyed that. It's good to get two very different views. Big up to Phil B, who's a channel member, said a salary cap would take financial power away and put the emphasis on player ability and coach tactics. That's what most people want to watch, no? Look, I mean, if we want to go down that route, obviously it's something that is talked about quite a lot, is the old salary cap. How does it work in other countries? Would they be able to implement it here? Food for thought. I'm sure we can come back to that another day. And Brand Holt, big up to you, has put in a super chat. I love that little picture, by the way. Is that meant to be like a little Robin Hood type character?
So.
I said, the problem with something like a salary cap is that football keeps making money. All of that money is earned, though, the hard work of the players. Why shouldn't they get a share of that profit? And I guess this is where it all starts to become, what are they worth? Their money, their money generating assets. I get it. I don't know what the answer is, but I do like talking about it. So
the money will go back into the billionaire's pocket. That's better, isn't it?
No, why don't you make the salary cap higher? See?
God.
Hang on, guys. The salary cap be 200 million.
Give the money then to the billionaire owners. Then give the money to the billionaire owners. You just said you don't like the capitalism. Yeah, give it back to the billionaires. That's what you want to do. You don't want to give it to the football players who are actually playing football on the pitch.
I'm the one who doesn't want capitalism. Want to give the money back to billionaires.
Well, if you see what you've done, going, bro. Where's the money going? It's not going to the players.
No, we increased the salary cap.
Oh, Jesus. Look, I'll be honest.
Anyway, I know he wants to end, but yeah, it was a fantastic.
Yeah, no, listen, we needed to end for LB and his dinner. Yeah, Jacob, it's something like 338 million, something like that we can spend before we even... Spurs are never in danger of hitting FFP, mate. Don't ever worry about that.
Arsenal and Chelsea are. David Ornstein said that. Arsenal and Chelsea are waiting to know their fate today.
Oh, dear.
I mean, we're going to get to the point. Sorry, I know LB needs to go, but we are going to get to the point soon, aren't we? Where like half the division is going to be being knocked points every season. So you might as well not play the league, because you're going to get to the league and go, right, scrap who's where. They've got 5 going. They're losing 6. They're losing 4. I just think it's going to be crazy. And every season we're going to have this. But guys, please get over and subscribe to Judge Mo. You got to love him. He is such a character, and he has his little gavel, and it's just very exciting. Mo, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Oh, this is one of my favorite shows. Love it here. Love it here.
Oh, dear. LB, we'll see you next week. And I'm sure somebody in the chat will mention something about 114 or 115 again, as they always do.
Spam the chat now, 115. Just spam the chat for LB, 115.
115. Please get over and subscribe to LB and Judge Mo. There, in the bio for this show is their links to their channels. And please subscribe to myself. We've now moved to just over 135 away from us. That's awful maths. 165 away from 13k. So please do smash that button. Take care, everyone. And as always, come on, you Spurs.